Welcome to another exciting episode of the Wealth and Business Podcast with your host, Dr. Daniel Moses, founder and CEO of Property Wealth Corporation. In this special edition, Dr. Daniel sits down with none other than John Howard. John Howard is not just a property investor, he's an industry titan who owns over 400 properties and is widely respected for his deep knowledge of property risks, investment strategies, and navigating the ever-changing property market. In this episode, John Howard engages in a Q&A session, diving deep into the lessons he's learned over the decades. Whether you're just getting started or aiming to scale your property empire beyond 100 properties, join us for expert advice and tips for taking your property journey to the next level.
So without further ado, can everyone please join me with a massive round of applause to Mr. John Howard.
Janet, you're on in a minute. No socks. What's all that about?
It's summer.
No tie, no socks.
It's very summery. I think I'm not the only one not wearing socks today. We've got a few people in the front seat.
Oh, trendy look. I've got to take my socks off now. Oh, dear. Anyway, nice to be here.
Nice to have you, John.
Thank you.
So, John, I just want to get into a very, very, very interesting conversation with yourself. But before we do that, I just kind of like to ask you, 40 years in property, did you just wake up one day and you just wanted to get to property?
You keep banging on about it, don't you? I mean, I'm not that old. I started very young. So, sorry, what's the question? Sorry, Con.
The question is, 40 years in property,
Yes.
How did you get into property, first of all?
Well, I was very blessed and very lucky. And the reason I was blessed and lucky was that my father had a greengrocer's shop. And when he was 60 years old, over 60 actually, he decided he was going to sell the shop and he was going to buy a one-man band tiny little estate agency, which is what he did. So it's entrepreneur in a way, a modest entrepreneur. And I was about 10, 11 at the time, years old at the time. And in those days, in the holidays, if you want to measure a house up, all the measurements and put the house on the market, you needed someone to hold the tape because you didn't have all the, like the infrared stuff now. And so in the holidays, I used to help him, used to hold the tape and all the rest of it. And I used to cycle around Felixstowe where I lived. And if I saw a for sale board with another estate agent, I used to get 50 pence for telling him. No more. Didn't get any commission extra if he sold it, mind you. I got 50 pence for telling him where it was. And then he'd go and knock on the door and try and get it for sale. And in fact, I've got 5 estate agencies in Norfolk now, and we still do that. I don't get 50p for doing it, but all our staff go out and knock on doors, and try and get other properties on who are on with other agents. We still do that. Door knocking, as it's called. So, yeah. So That's how it all really started for me. And then when I was 17, because I could learn to drive, I left school. And my father had been quite ill. And the business had really been almost shut down, really. So when I joined, it was really, really on its knees, which is a really good way to learn about business. When things are going well, anyone can do it. And you don't learn a lot. But when you've got some adversity, like Daniel's had, and in business, when things aren't going well, you learn far, far more about yourself and what to do and having the strength and the confidence to do something about it than you do when things are going well. And it was a struggle. After 4 months, he went back into hospital, and I was left running an estate agency business at 17 years, 4 months with a lady called Mrs. Leader. Now, Mrs. Leader used to give me spelling lessons in the mornings because my reading was never great. And she used to give me spelling lessons in the morning. And I used to stammer in those days, and I lost my stammer when I was about 19. So we had Mrs. Leader giving me spelling lessons, and then I had to go out and try and put properties on the market, value properties at 17 years, just learnt to drive. What could possibly go wrong? Well, it all went wrong, as you can imagine. And I didn't like answer the phone because I stammered, and I didn't like making a phone call either because I stammered. So it was all a bit of a, I won't say that word, but I think, you know, it ends with storm. So so my father came back into the business, and it wasn't good. It wasn't good. And we were battling along, struggling along. He's very old-fashioned, didn't want to spend any money. In fact, I tell you how tight he was. But you must remember this was the late 70s, I suppose. He used to hang the tea bags up. That's true. So we used the tea bags, and then they'd be hanging up, and he'd use them again. He'd take them, and he'd use the tea bags to dry. That's how tight he was. So my mother, bless her heart, we used to go home for lunch. We used to shut the office and go home for lunch in those days. Walk home for lunch. Can't believe it now, can you? And my mother was constantly at him to, you know, release the purse strings a bit and, you know, modernise the office. And it was a hobby to him almost, really, which no good to me. And when I got, am I okay to carry on?
Yeah, go on.
I realised very quickly that being an estate agent's okay. But a lot of people in my generation who are property developers and investors now started in a estate agency. That's where we learnt that was our apprenticeship, if you like. Whereas now you've got, you know, people like Daniel and others, you know, educating people in property. That's all. I do a little bit of it, nothing like the amount Daniel does. But you know, that's how it's all changed. And the people coming into property development and investment now are far brighter than the rest of us. We were just simple estate agents. Not that you're a simple estate agent, but we were. We weren't qualified. We had no qualifications. We hadn't been to university. We're blaggers. And all we could do really was shove the old property on the market, and you know, and that's what we did. And I soon realised that actually selling a house and getting 1.5% commission is all right, but you know what? I want some of the piece of the action. And we had two property developers. We called them Pinky and Perky because they went round together all the time. They were like inseparable, these two guys. And they were buying houses in flats in Felixstowe at the time. In those days, a lot of houses were converted into flats without permission from donkeys years earlier. And they were buying them and started to sell them off individually as flats, you know, title splits you'd call them now.
Yeah.
Anyway, and I thought that sounds a good idea. So they got to the end of a deal where they just had two left. And they were, in those days, called sitting tenants, where you couldn't get them out. They were just regulate tenants on low rents. And so I said, well, look, I'll tell you what, I'll buy those last two off you. They went, well, how are you going to do that then? I said, well, leave it with me. So I went to see my mother, because my mother wanted a new kitchen. But my father was too tight to buy her a new kitchen for the house. So I said to her, look, if we buy this together, well, you lend me the money, some of the money, and I'll get a little bit from the bank and so on my 18th birthday, this was. I said, I'll buy it.
On your 18th birthday?
Yeah, I'll buy it. I said, and I'll give you a good share of the profit and interest and so on. And she went, okay, we'll do that then. And I managed to sell one of the flats immediately to the tenant who was in there at a discount to them, but I still made money within a couple of months. And I kept the other one, refinanced it, moved, got my mother got the money back. She lent, the bank got the money back. My mother got the money. She got the kitchen she wanted. She could afford the kitchen then. So she was happy. And you know what? If you can borrow money from people, and we talk about everyone needs investors, everyone needs help, everyone needs investors. And I was blessed that my family were able to help me. But not everyone is so fortunate. I understand that. But you are all a family here now. Yeah? You all know each other now. You get to know each other today if you didn't know each other already. And you can trade between yourselves, buy and sell between yourselves. You can invest between yourselves. You can lend money. You might have an uncle that's got a little bit of money and someone else, a relative you might know. If you're going to borrow money off family, or always treat them the same as you would any other investor, because then they will lend you money again. They'll do it once as a favour, but they want it back. And then, oh no, you've had the money now. So if you look after them as if they are any other investor, you get interest on the money, perhaps a share of the profit, they will do it again and again and again. My mother said, where's the next deal, John? You know, because she loved it. And we did a few together, and bless her heart. She was always a fantastic supporter of mine. She died when she was nearly 96. And yeah, she was a great supporter. So, and then what happened then, so I started buying and selling when I was 18. My father was not very well again. And at nearly 19, I was still helping run the business. He decided to sell it. So he sold it to a guy who said, look, I want you to be my manager. I thought, I'm not sure about that. He then pulled out the deal. And then I persuaded my father to sell it to me. He didn't want to because he didn't want me to fail, which is fair enough. And as soon as I bought it, I changed the name, modernised it. Still just me and Mrs. Leader. My spelling had got a bit better. And then we managed to employ someone else.
Yeah.
And then I found a manager who, his family had a bit of money, because at some point I wanted to sell it. And fortunately, I got him to buy it off me.
Wow.
Because they're not worth a great, estate agents are not worth a great deal. The letting side of things is where the money is in terms of, guaranteed income. But when you're a estate agent, they always say you're only three months away from going bust. Because if you sell nothing for 3 months, your overheads don't change.
Yeah.
Anyway, I then met Mr. Boyce when I was 24 years old, multi-millionaire, and he backed me. And I still deal with his son now. And I've only ever had 3 backers in my whole career, 3 people. And I've been very blessed. I've never borrowed money off any private individuals or anything like that. I still deal with all 3 now, if you like.
Great delivery,
Yeah.
John. Thank you so very much for that. It's very important. I mean, for many of you probably in the room, you might probably be thinking how I'm thinking. There's 3 things that you said there. Challenges. You don't learn anything when it's all working. And that is something that people don't often speak about in the property space a lot. So a lot of people are influenced into getting into property because they see it's working. But underneath what is happening, underneath is what people don't talk about it a lot. But that's where you actually learn something. So,
Sure.
For example, a lender pulls out on you. A contractor goes bankrupt in the middle of a project.
That always happens.
Which always happens. Or a builder I had a project we were just doing, and in the middle of the project, the builder was diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah.
And we had to raise new money and to start the job, again, to bring the job back to speed, whilst we had about less than 3 months or 2 months for the bridging loan to expire.
Yeah.
So a bit of a tricky situation. And I had to learn something new from that. And this is something people don't talk about a lot. So you mentioned challenges is what actually brings the success. Something else you also said is having a backing, and no word of a lie, having worked with at least 1,000 people, the biggest challenge a lot of people have is not having someone that can actually back them. Because the only way to succeed in this business, you will run, listen, let me tell you, ladies and gents, you will run out of money. And John, I love that. And John just said it. He had 3 people and they backed him. And he still works with those people today. He don't work with a lot of investors, but he has his investors. All right, and they still do deals today. So if it's 40 years ago he started, probably if I want to put my numbers to it, we probably will be talking about 20 years at least minimum, or maybe even
30.
30
years.
All right, that he's been working.
And I'm dealing with the son now, not the father. Maybe,
not the father
I'm
anymore.
still dealing, same similar age.
Yeah.
So absolutely. And I think, as I always say, one of the biggest problems you have, a lot of these types of events, not this event, but others where they're like property clubs, and I go and speak at the odd one, and I come away thinking, Christ, what am I doing wrong? These people here have made more money than I have. Yeah. Now it's always the men. Now, ladies, do you think men exaggerate at all about anything? So normally the men are the show-offs. So the ladies are normally very modest and quiet about their achievements, and the men tend to show off. And normally, I always say to them when I do my little seminars and bits, I say, don't get put off when you go to these clubs and you think people are doing a lot better than you. The truth is, they're probably exaggerating 50%.
Yeah.
So don't be put off by that. And of course, they've never lost any money, and everything, the sunshine is always shine. Every day they open the curtains, it's a sunny day. That's just not true. And we've all lost money in property.
Yeah.
And I've got a very, very, very successful property developer friend, far more successful than I've ever been. And he's got 200 acres rolling down to the river, massive house, beautiful, beautiful place. And I said to him the other day, and we do the odd joint venture together, because he does commercial. He's hopeless at residential, but he's very good at commercial. And I said to him, if you're being honest, how out of 10 deals, how many work? He said, well, John, I always work on 70%. So 70% of my deals really work. So 7 out of 10. 2, I might get my money back if I'm lucky, and 1 is a complete bloody disaster normally. Because things happen, out of your control. So you have to be realistic. You're not going to hit every time. It's not possible. You can de-risk as much as you possible, of course. And people think we're gamblers. We're not gamblers, but we take calculated risks. And my question, I always ask the question to get the answer. The question is, what is the worst scenario if I buy this property? The worst scenario is I get my money back, and the best scenario is I get another 50% profit out of it, or 30% or 40%. Then I do it. Always have an out before you have it in. Always know what you can do if your first idea goes wrong. What else can you do with it? And you should be able to do 3 things with any deal. In my view, my 3 golden rules is 1, you should be able to buy it and sell it same day, because otherwise, what's the point of buying it? If you're not buying it at a discount, you're wasting your bloody time. If you're buying it off Rightmove via an estate agent and it's market value, then what's the point? You're trying to find an angle. You want an angle. You want to make money. So if you should be able to, 1, buy it and sell it. 2, you should be able to refurbish it and sell it and make a profit. 3, you should be able to, and this is harder at the moment because of interest rates, I accept that. You should be able to buy it, refurbish it, refinance it to a point, not as well as you did 3 years ago, but you should be able to refinance it, take some of your cash back out again to go again, because cash is king, and you need your dealing money. We all do. You need your dealing money back to go again. Otherwise, you get stuck. And I've got a very good friend of mine. She's lovely, but she hates selling anything. And she said to me the other day, she's very, very successful, and she said, John, I'm absolutely stuck because the banks won't lend me as much as they used to. I don't want to sell anything. I said, well, I don't feel too sorry for you.
Sell
she said, why is that?
Sell something.
Bloody sell something. Get on with it. Sell a few. Get some cash flow. Always keep your money moving, whether it's rent coming in, whether it's buying and selling. And that's where auctions are great, because at auctions, it's not a case of just buying at auction. You can sell at auction as well. Get some cash flow going. Keep the money coming in. Drive it forward. Sorry. Carry on, Dan. You meant to be asking questions. Sorry. I'll be quiet now.
I love it when John just go into it. So let's just kind of get the 2 case scenario from the room. So some people want to buy commercial properties. Yep. Some people want to buy landed properties. Some people want to buy their first buy-to-lets.
Yep.
So probably want to come from different angles. So we kind of heard about your journey, how you started, right? So right now, we just had a just recently concluded election. What is the appetite out there? Either you want to do land, you want to do commercial, you want to do buy-to-let. What is the appetite right now, and what should investors kind of have in their mind?
Well, I'm one of the mugs that went around knocking on doors for the last week or 2 on behalf of my who was the MP in my area, because I was the chairman of the Conservative Party in Ipswich. Then I became president. But anyway, so I had a responsibility to support him, and I mean, we all knew it was a waste of bloody time. But anyway, we had to do it, and it was a long old night at the count. When they count you, because you've got.
Did he win?
No, he lost. Piles of Labour ones and not so many Tory ones. But anyway, but we won 5 years earlier when I was in charge. We won. There you go. So the one good thing about this Labour government, and I hate to, I'm Tory through and through, but one good thing about them is they're going to make things happen. They're going to do things. Now, the problem with the Conservatives, we didn't deserve to win, and everything got stagnant, and it was time for a change, to be honest with you, probably. Now, they are hell-bent, as you know, on building more homes. Now, in 1968, we built 368,000 homes in the UK, and that's a record. 368,000 is a record. Last year, we built just over 200. So they've got a massive job on their hands, because one, we haven't got the workforce, because everyone now goes to university. 50% of people go to university, and I'm knocking universities at all. But if I look at the entrepreneurs that I work of my age group, not one of them went to university. And they all became entrepreneurs because they didn't know what else to bloody do, to be quite blunt about it. They weren't qualified enough to do anything. And so the workforce has changed. Apprenticeships, I think, are a wonderful thing, wonderful stuff, apprenticeships, but there aren't enough of them. And too many people, I believe, are going to university. And what we're not coming out with, in my area, I can name 10 people in our 20s that will be wheeling, dealing, buying, selling property, working for agencies at the same time, and all the rest of it. And it's certainly in my area, we don't have those people anymore because they all go to university, they get a degree or whatever, which is great, but actually there aren't many entrepreneurs left. Yeah, which is great to see you lot in the room because you're all going to be, if you're not, you're going to be entrepreneurs, or you are entrepreneurs in your own businesses now, or you're pivoting to property, or you're already doing property. Fantastic, and that's what conservatism, by the way, is all about. It's about giving conservatism compared to Labour. Labour is meant to be big government, and with the government making decisions and controlling everything, and everyone should be on a level, everyone should be fair, everyone should have one house each, and all the rest of it. Conservatism is about being aspirational, about making money and keeping money, as much money as you can for yourself and your family. And unfortunately with Labour, they normally Labour governments spend more than Conservative governments. Of course, we've had COVID, which has just destroyed all that completely, unbelievably so. What was the question? Oh yeah, land, yeah. So this government are hell-bent on getting rid of Section 21, which I think is a massive problem for many landlords, because what people don't, and we don't have the detail of it, and the devil's in the detail, but if the detail is you cannot get your tenant out at any cost, you cannot get him out or her. If you want to sell it, you can't get them out at all. Now that could be the case. We don't know yet. If that is the case, what's going to happen to property prices in those properties? Because if you get your property out, say you've got a nice semi-detached house, you've had it rented for a number of years, you decide to sell it, you get it vacant, you're appealing to 100% of the market. If it's tenanted and you can't get them out, who are you appealing to? 2%. You lot. 2% of the market, probably. Landlords. Other landlords. By the way, it's good news for all of you because you'll be buying at a 30% discount because they can't get it empty. So it's worth 30% less with a tenant in it, probably, than it is if it's vacant. And the market is tiny. And in the 80s and 90s, I made a reasonable amount of money by buying blocks of flats, which were tenanted, getting the tenants out, because you couldn't get them out and you couldn't ask them to leave. They had to wait till they went or buy them out, give them money to go, and then sell them off individually and you would call that now modern. The modern term is title splits, but so that's what I think is going to happen again. It's going to take time. But if you have got a 5-year loan and the loan comes to an end and the bank says, oh, we just had it revalued. Oh, and by the way, it's worth 30% less. And you borrowed a 70% loan to value on it, which would be fair. Now you're 100% loan to value. So what's going to happen then? If you've got enough of them, you're okay because the average is so many going to come vacant a year probably. But you do have to consider that. And a lot of people are now saying, well, the buy-to-let market is it's over from the point of view that you had to put 50% down to make them work because interest rates have gone up. So, to make any profit out of it, the return is very difficult to do. So that's difficult. So you've got to sweat your assets. So, if you've got a house in a four-bedroom house, do exactly what Daniel's done with them all. And HMO them, sweat them. That's the only way you're going to get a decent return, I think. So that's a big problem. But I think land is an even bigger problem. And I think the reason land is a big problem is because I believe what's going to happen, it's all about social housing. So when the government say they want to build 1.5 million houses, that's social houses. They're not worried about the ones you want to live in. No. They want social houses for people. There's 1.3 million people on the housing waiting list in the UK. Big problem. I've got 2 developments I'm doing at the moment. I'm selling to the council. They're buying them. Councils are buying houses off me, to house people. And guess what? They get a 40% grant off the old government. They were getting a 40% grant to do it, which is incredible. Conservative government giving Labour councils a 40% grant to buy houses. So you can't make it up, to be honest with you.
So just on leading up from that. So what I hear from what you've just given is,
Things are changing.
yeah. So
You have to pivot and adapt.
yeah, all the possibility of things that could stop a lot of people investing in property, but yet it's a massive opportunity as well. So
Massive.
two
I'm
things
excited
from
about
that-
it. Look how old I am, and I'm
two
still
things-
excited.
Two
Not
things
as
from
old
that
as he
con-
makes it out. But I'm excited about it because I can see opportunities. I can see angles and different things that we can do. Because a lot of the landlords are going to get out. They'll need to sell. Opportunities. I don't like saying this because it makes me sound like a bastard. And who watched the Property Elevator show? Anyone watch the Property Elevator? One or two. That's on Sky 186. We can get it on my YouTube. So we're on 7 series. And on the show, it's a bit like Dragon's Den. I came up with the idea. And anyway, it's on Sky. So the producer wants me to be the bastard on the show. And actually, I'm a very nice person. But on the show, I'm the tough one. I'm the, a bit of a Simon Cowell, yeah. What was I saying? Yeah, but actually, you have to realise that you're making money out of someone else's problems potentially. Yeah. Now, not everybody, people want a solution to their problem, you're giving them that solution. Not everybody is hell-bent on getting the best price, but they want to know that they want the stability, that know that someone's going to buy it and it's going to happen, it's going to go through and all the rest of it. So that's your angle. Your angle is you're helping someone who, they may want to go and live abroad, can't sell the house. You offer them 30,000 less or 40,000 less. They take it because they want to get on and move on with their lives. There's nothing wrong with that. I get people who say to me, oh, well, I'm embarrassed to offer less because the agent says, the agent says that's what it's worth. Well, no, it's worth what you want to pay. I don't care what the agent thinks it's worth. Why would I care about that? I need an angle. I need to be able to make money out of it. And just to pay the market price, everything you buy has got to be below market price. You buy in cash and carry, you go to cash and carry, you sell retail. Simple as that. Property is a very, very simple business. That's why I'm in it. Not the brightest.
And just to also kind of interject quickly on that one as well, right? It's people who are making money right now in property are people that can find angles.
Yes, absolutely.
And people that can find the real problem and fix it. I mean, John, I wrote a book about rent to rent.
Just the one, wasn't it?
Just the one, yes. and
talk to me about my books now. He doesn't want to mention that.
John has written 6 books.
My book on commercial property is about to come out.
6 books, right?
I've written 4 books.
So 4, sorry.
Yeah, and my 5th one's just come. Excuse me, I'm just going to get some water. My 5th one's just coming out on commercial property. But if you buy them on my website, it's much better because Amazon takes 60%. Aren't they greedy? Anybody think they're property developers, wouldn't you? There we go.
Okay, so John has written 4 books. I've written 2. I've got 2 more coming out in the next 12 months. So I'm going to match you up there, right? You're going to be proud of your
delighted,
your student,
Daniel.
Right?
I'm delighted. I'm delighted.
You're proud of your student, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I wrote a book called Rent to Rent, and a lot of people right now wanting to get into property, the first thing that comes in their mind, I want to do Airbnb, or no, I just want to control property. It's all great. The market is changing. The truth be told, the market is changing for rent to renters, or rather property managers, as you will call them.
Yeah. Also, what I would say is this government is saying that they're going to license Airbnb.
Yeah.
And they don't want any more properties becoming Airbnb because, of course, there's a housing shortage. They want people to rent these houses. Yeah, and they don't want you to do it on a commercial basis. So all these things are changing. We don't know how quickly they will change, but they're pretty adamant they're getting on with things quickly. Now, whether they can do that, and it's a bit like the land, they want to build all these houses, but realistically, how are they going to do that? They haven't got the labour. The councils are terribly slow at giving planning permission. They're going to be more difficult about it. They're going to want up to 50% social housing. So when you build, at the moment, you build 10 houses, which are less than 1,000 square meters, there's no social housing. They could well say, well, for every 3 houses you build, we want 1 to be social house. Or they could say 50% of everything you do has to be social housing. So that will make a massive difference, because that will make land prices, that will reduce land prices. Because the things you can't change, build costs aren't going to go down, sale prices aren't going to go up particularly. So the only thing that can move is the price you pay for the land. And that's, in my view, got to come down. And that's one of the big changes, I think.
And there isn't land in England. They don't make them anymore, do they?
Well, you know what they say about land? They don't make any more of it. However, it's a good question. In England, how much of the land is covered? What percentage of the land is covered by property in England alone? What percentage? 20%? 11%? What would you say? Janet, what do you reckon? 3.5%. 3.5%, including gardens. That's all. So you could argue they've got a point where they say, well, you know, we need to build more houses. But where do you build them? Because in the south, there's too many. And in the north, there's no shortage of housing in the north, remember. The housing shortage is in the south, not the north.
Great. As we wrap up this conversation, I'll ask you one more question, and I would open up to the audience
finishing
5
already?
questions. How many of you got questions in the room? Just show of hands so I can count. I need 5 questions. Okay, that's fine.
And normally there's one, and then
Two.
there's old. Once one's
Then
answered,
3.
then they all
Who
come.
else?
Then they all come up.
Okay, 4. 5. Okay, finally we got 5. All right. But guys, we need speed sometimes. Right? Everybody I was almost going to say that's it. One person, now everybody says 5. Okay. Success loves speed. Though.
Okay, go. Who's going to ask the first one?
Okay, before I actually bring the question to the audience,
sorry,
John,
I'll be
I've got
quiet.
one for you.
All right, yeah.
So, John, what is one biggest advice that you have for this room? All right, in a space where the property, you know, everyone listening right now and people watching, you know, from the outside. So people go on your YouTube channel, your social media, my YouTube channel, and people just having that generic mindset of I want to get into property, and they're not really prepared. What is one biggest advice that you have for those people who are just looking at the glossiness of property, but not having to understand what is underneath it?
The biggest thing is networking, contacts, your contacts. And all of you here tonight, you've made all these different new contacts. And you can, you know, and you'll get people that you align with and your thoughts are similar, and you can work together. You can, you know, one of you might find a property doesn't suit what you do, but it might suit what Janet does, or it might suit what, and you can all work between yourselves. And with Daniel, you know, running this, you know, the business and property club, you know, that's so important, because you've got a focal point for it all, and it's so important. And it's all about relationships, property. It's all about who you know. And, you know, over the years, you get to know people. And I think, you know, try and be as professional as possible. Try and be professional. Mix with the right people, not the wrong people. So important. So important to know the right people and mix with the right people. Because if you mix with the wrong people, then people think you're similar to them, and you're not, probably. So really, you know, do due diligence and work out who are the good guys who aren't in property, because there are people out there who will try and fleece you, try and get a load of money off you for doing nothing and all the rest of it. And you've got to be sharper than that. Remember, you are the captain of the ship. If you're doing a development, you're buying a property, everyone's going to be working for you. You're in charge. You make the decision. But remember, the captain is the last person who gets off a ship. If the ship goes down, traditionally, the captain's the last one off, not the first. So be careful.
And that's one of the reasons why rooms are like this,
Absolutely.
being in the club, it's very
so important, Daniel. And what you've done, training 1,000 people, and what you're doing here now is fantastic. And it gives everyone confidence, and it's all about networking and who you know, and who's got a deal, who hasn't got a deal. You know, I've got lots of stuff I can sell you. I've got stuff in Leicester to sell. I've got stuff in Birmingham to sell. Not much in London. But anyway, I'm always looking to sell stuff, buy stuff, sell stuff.
Always selling
that's
stuff.
What it's around.
Love it. All right, so we're gonna go to the first person in the house. Have you got a mic? You got mic? Okay, so please move the mic to the first. Yeah. So please tell us your name, what you do, and then the question.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Angela Lopez Mornier, and I'm a business lawyer. Thank you so much for organising this. so much. So my question is about work-life balance. I'm interested in getting into property, but I don't know if now is the right time because I have 3 children under the age of 5. So my question is, realistically, how much time commitment do I need to put to make it work? So I want to do it, but I'm not sure if now is the right time. And I'll be honest, I'm very discouraged when I come into rooms and it's predominantly men and they're women at home watching the children. I'll just be honest about that because with me, it'll be me doing it. So I always say that I'm a Monday to Friday, I'll say I'm a single mother because my husband works offshore sort of thing. So is now the right time? What's the time commitment? And why not more women? Is that an indication that it's going to be very intensive? Thanks so much.
Not at all. Well, congratulations. You've obviously got a fantastic career as well as 3 children and keeping a husband happy, although he's away a lot. He's away a lot, isn't he, to be fair? So I mean, I basically say you've got it all going on, okay? And I'm a massive supporter of women in property. There aren't enough women in property. And I spoke, it's quite scary, to be honest with you. I spoke at Hard Hats and Heels, which is Hayley Andrews, who's on the Property Elevator with us, show with us. And she's formed this group called Hard Hat and Heels, ladies only. She's probably a bit sexist, but anyway. She said, will you come and speak? It's the second event. Would you come and speak? I said, well, are there any blokes there? No, all women. Why do you think it's called Hard Hats and Heels, John? It was a bit intimidating, to be fair, but I did it. And the reason she asked me is because I think a lot of Hayley anyway, but also the fact that she knows I'm passionate about women in property. And I've got an estate agency out of 44, 45 staff, 37 are women. And they're more efficient, they take it more seriously, they're more genuine, they're more honest. Sorry guys, but it's true. And they don't bullshit. Now, and they're used to multitask. So you are an intelligent woman. There is no reason why you can't get cracking in property, baby in one hand, computer on the other, like my stepdaughter does at the moment for me. Stepdaughter, get on with it. Work out what you want to do, take some education, get some education from Daniel, whatever, and get on with it. Decide what you want to do, decide what you've got to spend, and go out and do it. You can do it. You genuinely can. And the great thing about property, you don't have to be doing it full time. I always say to everyone, I get people announce to me, I'm going to be full time in property. I say, congratulations, how many properties you got? Oh, it's my first one. I said, for Christ's sake, keep your job till you got at least 10. Because you don't need to be full time with it. Especially now with internet and everything else, it's different to how it used to be. It really is. Okay, you don't want to probably go and buy something 4 hours away, seriously, obviously. But, you're a very intelligent woman. Get on with it.
And just to actually add to that, one of the things that we've actually created now is called Property Portfolio Service, passive investor investing. So basically passively investing in property without you doing all the work. And the reason why I had to create that, imagine I've turned over 1,000 people. So 1,000 people have paid to learn from me. Does that make sense? And one of the biggest things was that I noticed people, when I used to do the coaching thing, right? I charge a minimum of 10 to 15,000 pounds to mentor people. And people generally will pay me that. And I have to be like, you didn't come you booked an hour meeting with me, you were nowhere to be found. The course, you're not, how many of the videos have you watched? What have you done? What did you, and life,
They're too bloody laid back, they aren't they?
And I'm like, you paid me this amount of money and the time is ticking.
Come on, get on with it.
And
time is money.
And part of the reason why we had to start creating the passive investing for people, so where we actually help people build.
Yeah.
You pay instead of paying me £10,000 now, you pay me £10,000 to help you build a property portfolio with the team. Jazz leads that. And to be honest, it's been one of the most successful things we did. Because now people like you can actually invest in property. All you just need to do is speak to Jazz, all right? And then Jazz finds you the property, brings it to your doorstep. Yeah. And you don't have to worry about the coaching, the mentorship that you would never do. The truth is you're going to pay. You're going to be inspired by the room, run to the back of the room, all right? The offer is only now. Do it now, right? And then you do it, all right? And then you end up actually demotivated and not actually doing it.
I think the other thing, Daniel, is that it's like a soft launch, really. It's like launching something quietly, isn't it? At the end of the day, you can learn as you're going along. You've got support, and you're not on it full on. So that's, I mean, everyone's different, and it won't suit everyone. But for some people, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, and that's part of the other reason why we have the club as well.
Yeah, because you're supporting each
the
other.
club can support you.
Yeah.
All right, and there is no upsell of spending under £10,000 to buying a course.
I'll be quite blunt. It can be quite a lonely life.
It is very lonely.
I don't want to feel sorry for me, but it can be quite a lonely life.
It is.
Up and down the country on your own.
It is lonely.
And sometimes to have that support and people around you that you can talk to and bounce ideas off and everything else, it's great. It's a different way to how I would do it, how I did it originally, but I can see the benefits.
Yeah. And to be honest, there's a lot of ladies in the community as well. So Maxine can share, for example, you're a property investor, you have 3 properties now, you also have a few rent on your portfolio.
I mean, what would be your advice, given where we are with, twofold really, the Labour government and also interest rates? Okay, so what would be your advice for someone who's got, sort of 10 plus properties, but is on the lower interest rate cycle?
Congratulations, by the way.
Congratulations.
And half of them could be coming up to expire in the next sort of 6 months, and a lot of people are facing that. Where
they are an awful lot. Yeah.
What's your advice in terms of the trend where you think interest rates are going to go over the next? I know you haven't got a crystal ball.
No.
The next 12 months.
Yeah, I think interest rates are going to end up. I don't. We can show of hands, but I mean, I think that interest rates are going to end up at about 4.5%, 4% base, and you'll be paying 5%. I mean, I fixed most of my portfolio for 15 years at 4.1% with Shawbrook 3 years ago. Now, at the time, the interest rate at the time was all right, but now I look really clever. But it's just luck, really.
What made you do for 15 years?
Well, I've got a 10-year. Well, I'm optimistic. That's the first thing, that I'm going to last 15 years. Although the way Daniel talks, I probably won't. And the second thing was, it's with Shawbrook, and what I can do with them, I can pay off 10% without any penalty a year of the loan. So, I'm looking at, inheritance tax, passing things on to my children, and I mean that I'm at that stage. But from your point of view, you've got Tenny done bloody well. You're in a great position to actually, you're in a great position to kick on and perhaps pivot a little bit, perhaps from maybe cash in on 1 or 2 of the rentals, get your dealing money together and go out and actually make some capital gains that way, cash-wise. And I talked to a number of people similar to you who are in that situation and, help them plan what they're going to do, because it is important. And what you've done has worked brilliantly, I'm sure, for a number of years, but will it work going forward? And that's the question. And a lot of people are pivoting, getting a bit of a war chest together, refinancing some, selling some, getting a war chest together to go again. Interest rates will come down this year a bit. I think we're all disappointed. We all thought they'd come down before the election. Obviously, they didn't. They're now talking about not coming down in August either. But I think they will start coming.
Just to kind of add on top of that, depending on what is currently your exit as well, isn't it? So is it just basically buy to let? You might want to also think about repurposing as well. So repurpose to increase your cash flow, and then remortgage it where it covers the cost of the mortgage. I'll give you an example. When the interest rate was really, really high, in the middle of because like John will say, so I've been building my property portfolio actively in the last 5 years. So whatever I've got, it's just happened in 5 years. So when I first got that property remortgaged, for example, my mortgage was like about £1,500, right? And the rental income on that particular property was just around about under 4.5K, 5K-ish. Now, I fixed it for 2 years because the end goal was that the property will definitely go up in value. I was very specific. I know the property will go up in value up to 200K. cut long story short, last year the mortgage expired whilst the interest rate was over the roof. I remortgaged, but the property value had gone up from 900 to 1.1 million. That's one. Two, I had the opportunity of increasing my entire rents, all right, because the tenants moved in just around COVID area. So I had to incentivize all the tenants to move, and none of them wanted to move out. That same property, the rent went from 4.5 to 5K to producing £2,000 extra. So my rent went up to £7,000. Right now, my mortgage get remortgaged. My mortgage is now £4,000.
Doubled.
So
More than doubled.
my mortgage just went off the roof. £4,000 mortgage, but the property is producing 7K. So at the end of the day,
Still okay.
it's still okay. All right. So this is why it's quite important to be quite tactical about it. So does your current exit, does it suit the purpose for a remortgage? Okay. If it does, fine. If it doesn't, then restructure your exit so that, for example, you know, if it was a single family let, can you turn into an HMO?
Can you sweat it
out?
Yeah,
you know,
that's
so
what I'm looking to do.
so you might have to sweat it out.
Sort of buy to let. Most of them are, so they're doing well at the moment. But I'm not sweating the asset enough.
Yeah, and I think also it's all about tax as well. You know, having a good advice system, because it may not be worth you selling something. You might, you know, when you remortgage, of course, it's tax free. Well, it is at the moment. Don't want to give what's the Chancellor Exchequer any ideas, but I mean it's free, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tax free.
Yeah.
So you might be better to refinance, even if it hurts you a little bit on the interest rate, than you are to sell and pay a load of tax.
Yeah.
So there's all these things, but you really need to take really good advice from an accountant on like that. Yeah. And you've got a good guy, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, great. We'll come to. Okay, let's go to Ernest first.
Thank you. I just want to thank Daniel again. What he was saying about us speaking years ago was not a joke. So thank you so much for what you do. I think it's better that saying if you want to understand something, read about it. If you want to learn about it, write about it. If you want to master it, teach it. This is what you've done. And you give me so much courage this time I see you, but I remember where we're now thinking, I'm going to do forestry, what I'm going to do to get this money. So, but you're a great expert.
Thank you.
So, the question I want to ask, some of them have already been asked in a way, but I wanted to clarify more, to talk about interest rate. So, if you've got some properties that you have for 2 years and they are expiring, I mean, we don't know if it's going up or down. Because it's only in the US, like, I didn't know in UK you could fix property for 15 years. It's only in the US I know that you can fix for 30 years. So if you have property, what's happening now? What would you do? 2 years or 5 years? Because I got my finger point in the last, the first offer I got it for 2 years. Only after 2 years it's come over the roof. So what would be your advice? 2 years or 5 years?
When's it come due?
Yeah, you know about 3 months now.
The problem is if you do 2 years, the problem is every time the 2 years comes up, they penalise you with another damn fee normally to extend it again. So we've got to, you have to take whatever the interest rate might be that they're offering you. You always have to remember, is there a premium? Is there, do they want £2,000 to fix it at that? You've got to add all that in. Yeah. Because really, they might say, oh, it's a cheap interest rate. I've got a really cheap interest rate, but actually it isn't, because they want 4% fee or something, and then a fee at the end as well. So you've got to build all that, work all that out, build it all in. I always say that I didn't get my wife into trouble. Right, she said to me a few years ago, oh, well, he's got some buy-to-lets. 2 years or 5 years? I went, oh, I'll do 2 years. Not a good idea. Of course, now she keeps telling me I shouldn't have done it. She made me pay the penalty. So, well, you told me it should be 2 years. I should have done it for 5. So, you pays your money, takes your choice. But I think if interest rates look like they're coming down, which they do, they might come down 1% in the next year, maybe, mightn't they? Then you just got to work it whether it's 5 years. I can't see them coming down a lot less than 4% for the next 10 years, personally, but what everyone else thinks. So, I mean, there is a bit of movement there. And the market thinks so because some of the house mortgages they're offering have come down 0.3%. So they're building that in now to their offering. They believe it will come down. So I'd go 5 years personally.
Great. Okay. the two gentlemen at the front. So the mic is coming to you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Daniel. Nice to meet you again. I've met a few times, but I intentionally wanted to meet you properly today. I'll be very honest with you.
Good.
Mr. John and Mr. Daniel.
Good. Good start.
I'm a property investor, and
Yeah.
let me introduce my name is Motayo. I do property in like 4 different continents.
Yep.
All right. And at the moment, in the last 1 year, I also do property development in other countries, and this is a global crisis. It's not even just the UK. And with all my investments, I just felt, you know what, I just need to evolve and start thinking of other ways out, even though I love property. And like we say in business, you have to be consistent. And from what I've heard you say, like I said, I'm brutally honest, I don't know if anybody here who's not bought a property before. I think I don't see a bit of clarity, and I need help. I'm saying for myself, but I'm thinking for the first time buyer or someone who's going to property, I think we've left them to think you have to make the call yourself. That's what I'm hearing. You have to make the call. But I'm getting to a point where I own a few properties in London. Like I told you before,
Yep.
My family just bought a commercial property, which we're hoping to be generating a lot. So in terms of property portfolio, I think I've tried for my age. And I'm getting to a point now where my properties, the rentals, are going berserk. As in, people struggling to pay in London, and the prices are high, and I've had to cough in money from other investment elsewhere.
Yeah.
Because I'm a huge believer in property. I don't know, I love it. I will take the bullet because I know it will come good. That's I always try to have an investor mentality. So I put in a lot. I can tell you, on my properties, I put in over 70,000 now, just trying to keep
To cover your rent.
just cover. I'm telling you, they went berserk. All right. So I'm getting to that point where, in America, in Dubai, oh my God, in Nigeria, oh my God. So, but I'm a strong believer, and I'm saying this to all of you, don't give up. I said it's like a sine wave. You go up and you go down. Really, that's business. All right? So, for me now, I'm at the point where I'm thinking, what should I do? Should I start doing more of HMOs? And I'll tell you what I did to solve my problem. I had to invest in a family member into care, and I went into care and I said, you know what? We're converting all my properties, including the family properties, into supported living. The rent since the last 3 months is fantastic. Government plays a lot in care. I always look for solutions. And that's what I'm sure you've been doing for 40 years. But I'm at that point now where I'm thinking, I'm expecting some huge cash flow. Should I just buy, renovate, sell off? I don't feel like keeping one again. Should I just buy, like I'm currently doing a property, I can show you the video, convert to the 3-bed to a 5-bed, hoping like those up like £200,000. I told my wife, I'm selling.
What does she say? Because she's in charge, probably, is she?
Well, she's in charge here. Yeah, she's in charge of the UK market.
She's the boss.
So yeah, definitely.
They have the boss. That's the boss at the back there. That's my boss.
So I'm also an engineer, so I do all this construction myself. So lucky that I have the background. I do all the development. I have my builders. I have a company.
What do you think, Daniel?
So I'm thinking, should I do HM? My sister Daniel do a lot of HM because I wanted to go talk to him. Should I do sell off? So I need clarity.
So this is it, right? Just the same thing I just told Gavin. Okay.
Just to add it together, I want you to educate me more on bridging loans because I've had that method of raising property. Can you talk about bridging loans?
Yeah.
I really wanted to.
We'll talk about bridging in a different event.
In a different way,
Okay. So part of what we said just now to Gavin, right? It's about sweating your property. Right. The reason why I personally love property, right? The truth be told, a very significant amount of people who get into property has the wrong information. The moment you're having to spend money to keep your rental property, it's no longer a business. You're taking £70 to put in year in or month in, month out. You don't have a business really, right? Because you're not making money, right? So you
I've
should
been
always,
there in the past.
regardless, you should always learn. You should have an adaptive mindset to repurpose at any given point in time. Okay, I've got buy-to-let properties. I'm renting to a family. How many beds are the properties? Is it 4 beds? Is it 5 beds? Can I turn it to an HMO? Does it work in that area? Okay, the man behind us is a service accommodation guy. Okay, can I use this property as service accommodation? Okay, if that's not work, can I rent it to supported care providers, supported living and care providers? If that doesn't work, it's it's endless. Repurposing your property from one thing to the other, what you can't do, it's endless. But obviously, it has to be backed up by
During
data.
that period, there are losses in repurposing.
Yeah,
Losses could happen.
Well, depending. I'll give you an example where losses can't happen. So I'll give an example. I know this is pure case study. Somebody came to me, owned a house, a 4-bed house, right? During lockdown, got bounce back loan and spoke to the tenant and did a loft conversion on the house that he was renting out. So took the bounce back loan, put in a loft on it, still generating £2,000 rental income. All right, and increased their rent by £300. I think if I'm right, the rent went from £2,000 to £2,300. I put in £50,000 because it was bounce back loan money. Then the mortgage expired in 2022. Then the mortgage went to £3,500. And the guy's like, So I said, well, there is no I said, if you pay the right price, I'll tell you what to do. And to be honest, it's simple. It's simple now. It's not free. John is not sitting here with me like as if I know him for all my life for free, right? This is somebody that I had to pay to be on the room with him, like you guys are right now. You paid to be here, right? Yeah. So it's cost something to pay to be here. So I call it pay to play. How many read the test, chapter number 10? Pay to play. Buy yourself a seat on the table. So what does that mean? I helped this person out. The same property that was losing just about £1,300 a month. Today, that property now produced £6,000 gross rental income. Do you see the logic? The loft, first of all, we had to help them successfully get out the previous tenant, successfully apply for the HMO license, turn into an HMO. The property now produced £6,000 rental income. Just by doing that. And guess what also happened? The loft conversion that they did, the property was worth, after they finished, the property was worth. So he did the loft conversion because it was free money according to them, bounce back loan. Didn't even know how much the property is worth. So I said, how much is the property? I'm not really sure. I think it's worth £550,000. I said, okay, no problem. I brought out my valuation tool. Your property is worth actually £800,000. So do you need to spare £200,000 in your bank account there? Wow. So not only did I increase their rental income, I refinanced that property for them and they made £200,000 extra. So you could be sitting on some crazy money right now that you're not even seeing. And the reason why you're not seeing is because of the information that's available to you. It's as simple as that. Very simple. So first of all, you need to do a portfolio reevaluation to know what will work for what strategy.
And also why you're doing it.
Exactly.
Because there's lots and lots of different ways of making money out of property. I've got a friend of mine, he buys lock-up garages. He's bloody boring, I can tell you. But a night out with him is really hard work. But he makes a lot of money. He's got like 2,500 of the bloody things. He makes good money out of it. So it depends what you want to do, So it all depends what you want to do, how you want to do it, and what lifestyle you want from that as well. Because that's all connected, So and ultimately, Daniel can give you all the advice in the world, and I can, and so on. But it's up to you, really, what you want to do. And I think that's very important.
Absolutely.
Great. And you're very successful. I mean, you've been hugely successful anyway. So I think you need to believe in it. I think you need to believe in yourself a bit more as well, because you've been seriously successful. So I mean,
Great. The man at the back. Gavin as well, right? Julius.
Yes, I have two questions for you. The first one, how do we identify gold mine area to invest in property?
Sorry?
That's
the second one is, I heard you talking about £10,000, that if they give you £10,000, can help invest in property. for how long, and how many property can you invest in with £10,000?
Okay, two questions. Okay, I'll answer the
You're
first.
answering them, Danny, not me.
I'll answer the first one. So the first one was I really felt like giving something away yesterday. And what I was doing,
Well, that'll make a change.
yeah, I was doing something really nice yesterday online, and I said 10 people. So what I was doing, John, was to help 10 people form a consortium.
Right? Yeah.
All right. So you're not giving me that money, right? What I'm doing is to bring 10 people with £10,000 together. All right. And I did say, I promised everyone, I said, for those 10 people, I'll help you form a consortium, and I will also mentor you for free. So my club is £3,000 a year. You join the club free of charge. I'm not charging you a penny. Join the club, £10,000. What we then do among 10 of you, we're going to find the person who has a clean credit score, clean record, to be authorized person of the consortium. And so what that does happen is we're going to then buy houses cash somewhere in the north and do it up, implement the buy, refurbish, refinance strategy on a full scale, get that property refinanced, put all your money out, and then on the next one. So once I've helped you with the first one, together, 10 of you can then go and just repeat that process. The only thing I said I wanted, Jenna, you was there, right? The only thing I wanted is go and be what? My what? Ambassadors. Go and preach. Go out to the world and preach. Tell them who Dr. Daniel Moses is. Case closed. I just wanted to give that away. So you got one of the 10 people here. So make sure you guys swap numbers. Was it up to 10 people yesterday? We only got 5, right? 5 of you. So that's £50,000 already. So I hope that answers your question now. So you're not giving me the money. I'm going to train you. I'm going to help you out. We have Ola, who's our accountant. I'm going to be interviewing him shortly. He's going to help us set up the consortium. And guess what? You just, 10 of you own the house, you own the company together. It's very common in the Asian community. Don't say I told you. Very common in the Asian community. All right. Great. The second question is gold mine area. Go and buy my books. Buy the test. Buy Rent to Rent Made Easy. You have your answer there. I hope that helps. Very simple.
For the fact that we are here live,
Buy the book. Go and buy the book. How can I be repeating what I've already written down in the book now? Come on, guys. Gold mine area, listen, jokes apart. Gold mine area is just a very fancy word. Giving by property people. Gold mine area. Every area is a great gold mine area. Your gold mine area is the area you love to invest in, that the property actually works. So are you looking to do HMO? Does HMO work in that area without planning application? So for example, we have removal of permitted development rights. So before converting a house from a C3 to a C4 now, if you are in an Article 4 area, you're going to need planning. But if you are in an area where there is no removal of permitted development rights, you don't need planning. So which means you can just convert a house from a C3 property to a C4. So again, is there supply and demand there? Do people want rooms to rent? So once all those things tick, that's your gold mine area. So the gold mine area means where everything ticks that you want to do is your gold mine. That's where you want to invest in. It's as simple as that. How do you find it? Due diligence, research, everything is on the internet. Google. Contacts. Speaking to me, speaking to John,
speaking to everyone in the room.
Maxine, where Maxine currently invests in property is a gold mine area. She bought a property for £70,000, spent £40,000 on it. The property revalues for £145,000. That is a gold mine area. She tells you, oh, I bought a house here. If it works here once, copy and paste.
Yep.
Success, that's the cheat code. If it's working for me, come and see exactly what I'm doing. Just copy me. Mercedes-Benz and BMW, they still copy one another. If you look at C-Class and X-Class, all the cars look alike. So that's just your gold mine. Your gold mine just means where it works. All right? And if you work once, can you expand? So for example, there's a street in not one street, multiple streets in Bromley. Before Article 4 came in, I just went and bought multiple properties there. So when the value comes to value, I say, actually, I own the one next door, the one next door, the one next door. You can't tell me about anything wrong.
You do, but Danny, you do make it sound easy because you've been hugely successful. And not everyone is going to be as talented as you. But it's still very possible. It's still possible to work within your limits and take the advice and work to what you're comfortable with. Would you say? I mean,
Absolutely.
you know, if something scares you to death, you know, then don't do it. Find an element of property development investing that doesn't worry you. You know, so everyone has different levels of concern and risk as well.
You know, I always say this though: if you can't take risk, I like to be brutally honest, because I never got to where I was because people soft spoke me. If you can't take risk, if you can't afford to lose £10,000, don't do property. If you can't afford to lose money, you don't need to do it. That's the truth. Because guess what? John and I have lost, we've lost monies. Like, honestly, you know, you lost 300,000. People lose money. You can buy, see, I know some people have bought the wrong property and could not exit, could not get a mortgage on the property.
But when you make a mistake, it's all about how you deal with that and how
Yeah.
you get out of that mistake.
Exactly.
The best you can. What they can't take away is your ability and your contacts. They might take a bit of money away because you've lost a bit of money on a deal, potentially. But what you don't lose your contacts, and you don't use your ability. And there's a saying, which is I use a lot, which is form is temporary, class is permanent. So that's how I look at it.
Great. I think we've had this conversation was not meant to be this long. We'll have to pause there and bring the next speaker. Guys, can everyone please give a massive round of applause to Johnson?